right, peace. Right now, you're watching the conversation with God. Everything is real. Peace to the black universal family that's out there. We're going to start with, as we always do with today's mathematics, wisdom all being born, the culture, and freedom or freedom. What's that mean? Well, before we go into the question of the Q&A session, what we want to understand is that every day is a significant day that we need to reflect on mathematics so we can understand our connection to the universe as well as our way of life, right? Because that's what wisdom do. It gives you a way of doing things, and in that way of doing things, you're able to be free to express those things without being caught up in the devil's civilization. Wisdom is nothing more than experience, but you got to have the knowledge to have the experience. And that experience is in your expressions of the words that you deliver, hoping that somebody else will be wise enough to listen or to find a way to conduct themselves in their day-to-day living. And that freedom also is a way of expression without no barriers or holding you back from living out your culture naturally. That's how I draw up today's mathematics. What is a Muslim God?
Huh? What?
First of all, in all reality, there is no such thing as a Muslim God. I understand the knowledge equality degree. Who's the 5% of the poor part of planet Earth? Now, we can go through Elijah's answers, but let's get to the specifics. There's 4 people in that degree. The poor righteous teacher, the civilized person, the Muslim and Muslim son. Do you understand that there's nothing in there that talks about a Muslim God? There is no such thing as a Muslim God or a Muslim earth. Either you God or you earth, or you just a Muslim. You know what I mean? Now, at the end of the day, this is what clouds the minds of those out there, because the first thing we deal with is the perception, the image of things, right? We got to observe. That's how we do the knowledge. Look, listen, learn, and respect. I cannot respect confusion, which is what's happening in this day and time. Nobody can. I can respect actual facts. I can respect science. I can respect things that can be shown and proven. Now, we know energy is all around us. We can't see it, but we exist, so we know it's there. That's an actual fact, right? At the same time, we know for a fact that there are those who consistently want to bring confusion and cause trouble amongst the righteous, right? Telling lies, stealing, trying to master you with all types of mythologies and all types of nonsense. We, the gods, as well as those earths, understand that you got to keep it simple and plain so a baby can understand. Now, how can a baby understand anything called a Muslim God? I mean, let's be real. We got to be real with this, man. We cannot play with wordplay and think that's going to get us somewhere. Now, for the collective mind, man is God, but he has to know how to be that. You can't knowledge 120 lessons or any other lesson for that matter and think that's going to make you God. That makes you aware. Now, as you begin to add on to your growth and development, which is the cipher of self, right? Your own self, then you begin to understand your relationship to the God within you. And now you become that God. Now, I can't submit to an outside unseen force, but I can submit to my own will, which makes me the true and living God. Dawn of the planet of the apes. The planet of the apes. Now, what is an ape? We gotta understand the reality of an ape. When we look at that movie, God, like with any movie we look at, there's a lot of science as you look in the movie. So what was the first thing we understand? That now we got a talking ape, right? He was able to express himself. But his concern was family and peace. He didn't want no problems, but he brought his mindset to say, look, we all collectively are living on this planet, and we're going to have to find a way to live together. But as you know, the Caucasian man didn't want that. You know what I mean? They didn't want to understand that rationale. You know what I mean? And so what ended up happening? We had an internal, right, situation happening. And all civilizations are destroyed from within. Now, what do we have? We had the Caucasian man experiment with high explosives like they always do, right? And doing things that they wasn't supposed to do. And went into somebody else's area trying to what? Capitalize on what was going on. As we notice now, The white man recognized he's the minority. He was never major to anything. And you had one Caucasian man very nervous about the what? The growth and development of a new civilization that was taking place based upon their experiment. They was playing with nature. Anytime you play against nature, you're going to lose, which is what's happening in this day and time right now. The Caucasian man is losing. Now, what do I mean by that? What is he losing? He's losing all sense of purpose, man. The first jewel that I saw was just doing the knowledge to it. You know what I mean? How they put us in certain territories and keep the apes out in the jungle. But they had to come in the jungle to understand what was going on in the jungle. In other words, they set up a trading post. You understand? They started to understand the dynamics. But they needed to get somewhere in order to do more things. In order to get the energy to get back in effect, they had to go through there and get permission to use that facility. But we had an issue there. What was the issue? What was my man? I think the ape with the scar on his face. His name was, what was it? All right. He had a problem, right? He felt that based upon what the white man did to him, that they should be terminated. There should be no, coming together and working together. He felt that these people was just straight up wrong. But Caesar felt something else. He said, yeah, not all of them is like that, but we still got to keep in mind what it is. So what happened? Caesar took all his people and came on horses, lined up with his army, let them know, look, we don't want no problems with you, but just in case you think we playing, don't come back, because if you come back, that means y'all want war. And war exactly is what y'all gonna get. But what caused the war to happen? Fear, envy, jealousy, greed, right? That's what caused the war to happen. And it came from who? Caesar's right-hand man. Now, what does that tell you? I know what it tells me. Never let your left hand know what your right hand's doing. Sometimes it's not the man across the street that's gonna get you. It's the man next to you, because he wants to be that one. Instead of coming together for the right mindset, he want to be the one that everybody go to. That's that envy and ego that kicked in with this ape. And what did he do? He ended up shooting Caesar. That brings me back to a law of the father. Could it have been someone within our nation who was close to him, knew his movements, that killed him off? Something to think about out there. Something really to think about. Don't harp on it, but think about it. That means not everybody who come in this is this. You got to really study a person, man. Study their movement, study their mindset. Study everything before you make a choice. You know what I mean? Before you deal with them. The other thing I found, that same ape started putting opinions in Caesar's oldest son's head. Right? That's that 28th degree. For all that understand their lesson, started placing pins in his head. And started to what? Allow things to happen, that separation to take place in the mind of the young. The same way that there are those out here placing poison in the young people's heads, getting them away from Allah the Father's right and exact teachings. Adding their teachings and then saying it's Allah's teachings. You got to be in Allah's mindset to understand and recognize who's Allah. Not everybody's going to be Allah. They're gods, but they cannot be Allah. There's only one Allah the Father. One. When we understand the science of power, I'm not talking about all the powers of the truth, the powers of the black man possessed. I'm talking about power which is organized effort, meaning a collective entity moving as one force, one direction, with no excuses. Anything's bound to happen, man. Greatness is bound to happen. But when we have individual minds going against what is the mastermind reality, then you have anarchy, you have confusion, you have problems from within. You know what I mean? And then you have the followers, and then you have the leaders. And not everybody's meant to lead. Some are meant to follow. And this is what we got to deal with today. Those are some of the jewels I drew up. I mean, that movie was really a serious movie. Just like the one before it, The Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Now this one's called The Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. And in the end, Caesar still came out victorious because he was what? a leader of principle, a leader of greatness, and he didn't allow anything to bend. And he also fought this ape, was getting ready to murk the ape out. You know what I mean? Sometimes brothers can fight another brother, especially if the other brother may lack understanding. So Caesar put the can of whip ass on this clown. You know what I mean? But he realized he could have killed them, and he chose not to. But then that same person came back and nearly killed him. You know what I mean? So it's a real serious dynamic when we're dealing with the psychology of an individual, the behaviors and the patterns, and what make a person do certain things. This is why you got to examine everybody, man. Here's the 5% nation of hate group. You know, I'm going to go back to something Malcolm X said when the same question was posed about Elijah being a hate monger and he was a racist. This is about survival. This is the ultimate game of chess that we're living in right now. It's us against them. But we all are on the same board, in the same world. We didn't ask to come over here almost 500 years ago to build a so-called nation, which is really a corporation, you know what I mean, to keep them wealthy and keep us in poverty. The 5% nation, although we poor righteous teachers, is not a hate group. What we are is a awareness group, and our job is to teach you who the true and living God is. Now, all the scientists, even the Caucasian ones, have to bear witness that their father is the black man. There is no other way around it. But of course, their history that they teach you from adolescence until you get to college is that they created what? Civilization. How could you create something and you wasn't here? You came after the fact. You some Johnny-come-latelys. Now, we're not dealing with the science of hate. We're not anti-white, nor we pro-black. We got Caucasian 5%ers that know who the true and living God is and would teach that the almighty true and living God is supreme being, black man from Asia. But what we find is this, is that the Caucasian man, through masonry and other esoteric sciences, feel that he's the God. The same thing the Romans and Greeks did when they went to Egypt and they saw black faces. They had to put on the pharaoh's, you know what I'm saying, crown and try to be like them, which is a degree that we understand. Trying to learn and do like the original man. You cannot try to learn and do like the original man. You can study the original man, but you can't not be the original man. You can be a civilized man. And so we don't deal with the science of hate. We deal with the science of love, peace, and happiness. Love is what? An expression, but there's various types of love. Love has been used vaguely in the world. Peace is the absence of confusion. Some of us in this nation are still confused. And that's an actual fact. They confused about who, what, when, where, and why, and use this to shield their dirty ways. And we all come from the dead world. Ain't nobody that came in this came from a holy world. Some of those same tendencies of anger, bitterness, and hate still lay dormant in their subconscious mind. Just because you got knowledge of 120 lessons, you say your name is so-and-so Allah, don't make you that. You have to live this out by going through trials and tribulations. And everyone in here got to carry their own cross. So when we deal with hate, do I despise what the Caucasian man has done over history? Yeah, I don't like the fact that he did what he did. But some of our own people sold us out and allowed him to do it. At the end of the day, some of my own people still like the devil, and the devil's not giving them nothing but hard times, hunger, nakedness, beaten and killed. And since they advocate and looking outside yourself, we got some of my own people that's still following that doctrine. And until we collectively wake our people up, you're going to still have racism, you're going to still have hate, you're going to still have us against each other, because this was something that was done to us, not just psychologically, not just from a genetic structure, but from the environment that we live in. Think about when you grew up, all the things you heard as a young child, from your father, from your mother, from your peers, it wasn't all great things. Those words have power. So when we deal with hate, no, we ain't dealing with the science of hate. We're dealing with the science of what? Doing what's right. Loving, having a peaceful mind, and being happy. But a lot of us ain't happy, God. A lot of us ain't happy. You know what I mean? A lot of us ain't in peace, and a lot of us sure ain't got no love in us. They sure ain't got no love. There's a lot of self-hate when it comes to that, God. So yeah, we the 5%ers, we don't deal with self-hate. We deal with the science of teaching you the truth, how it is, simple and plain. We share with you growth and development. And then another thing about the 5%. There's a way that you can distinguish a 5%er to a 5 pretender. The 5%er, he or she's gonna be what? Dedicated. They're gonna be disciplined. They're gonna have some type of direction. They're gonna deal with the science of duty. You know what I mean? And they're gonna be determined to be better in all things. The 5 pretender is gonna give you the excuse. He or she's gonna tell you and become, they wanna be a victim. You know what I mean? Everything opposite to what I said a 5%er does and is. So that's how I draw up the science of hate, God. We don't deal with hate, man. We tell you the truth, whether you like it or not. You can either accept it, reject it, or you can leave it alone. That's up to you. Choice is yours. Peace. You have to come in this for the right reasons, especially you young sisters. You know what I mean? No nation can be built without the woman being beside the black man or that man. So what you want to do for all these young ladies, I have young daughters, young earths, and I have to prepare them for all the tricks that men play, inclusive to the ones I played as a young man with women. First, you have to understand your relationship with your biological fathers. If you didn't have one, how could you have a relationship with a teacher or anyone else, right? Because the first teacher that's coming to you is going to be your father, that man, that first man in your life. Second, ask yourself why you want this. How do you see it bettering yourself, right? Women nowadays need guidance. Their nature is to have a man in their life. That's the reality. They came from man, so the only way they can what? Be balanced to go back to man. But you got to understand as a young woman, there's things you have to learn how to become. You know what I mean? Just because you had your period don't make you a woman. That makes you ready for what? Conception, but it doesn't prepare you for womanhood or motherhood or any other hood for that matter. Second, women out there, young and old, stop using sex as your method of trying to control men. You know what I mean? We know the sextillion tons, a unit followed by 21 ciphers. Notice what it says. 6, which is a limitation. Sex, which is aggravation after a while. The tillion is you trying to what? Weigh on me, right? With all this other extra guilt trips because you gave me your body hoping I'm going to pay your rent. Bring something to the table so that I can eat. I don't mean eat you. I mean eat. Eat the proper food for proper nourishment. If you understand the 14th degree, it tells you that, right? Teaching women and girls how to. That means instruction. That's a domestic degree. How to act at home and abroad. How to what? Take care of your children. Raise them. Teach them the proper way. Don't teach them to trick their dad and lie to their dad and grin up to their dad for money and all this other nonsense that the Western man does. Remember, we're dealing with the science of nature. You know what I mean? Dealing with the science of knowing how to cook, what to cook, and at the same time knowing how to keep a husband. You cannot keep a husband playing tricks on him. You keep a husband by being a virtuous woman. In closing, as it relates to the woman, you got to get an education. Memorizing some degrees from a man's mind is not the knowledge itself. That's the awareness of certain things. The knowledge itself is understanding your origin in this world and understanding who you are to become by looking within yourself. And for all those other women out there who claim they got knowledge of self, yet they want to bring outside methods into this, stop. Because you're going to be like an asteroid. You're going to be floating in space alone since you think you know everything. Remember, collective mind, collective what? Purpose brings out a positive and collective future. And on that note, I'm going to say peace.